Last month, the head of NORAD and NORTHCOM, the military commands that defend North America, told Congress some of those mysterious drones seen flying inside the United States may indeed have been spying. He did not say for whom. 60 Minutes has been looking into a series of eerily similar incidents going back years, including those attention-getting flyovers in New Jersey recently. In each, drones first appeared over restricted military or civilian sites, coming and going often literally under the radar. The wake-up call came just over a year ago when drones invaded the skies above Langley Air Force Base in Virginia over 17 nights, forcing the relocation of our most advanced fighter jets. Our story starts with an eyewitness and an iPhone.
The story will continue in a moment.
Close around 7 o'clock, I would say, I started seeing these reddish-orange flashing lights that were starting to come in from the Virginia Beach area. It began slowly, like one at a time.
Jonathan Butner's close encounter with drones came on December 14th, 2023. He was at his family's cabin on the James River in Virginia, about 100 miles south of Washington, D.C., with a commanding view of several military installations across the water.
They started really coming in almost like on a conveyor belt.
How many in total?
I probably saw upwards of 40 plus. When I first saw that, I was like, those are going directly over Langley Air Force Base.
Langley is one of the most critical air bases on the East Coast, home to dozens of F-22 Raptors, the most advanced stealth fighter jets ever built. Butner says from his perch, he has seen it all.
I'm very familiar with all the different types of military craft. We have Black Hawks, we have the F-22s, and these were like nothing I've ever seen.
Butner took these iPhone videos of the objects coming and going for nearly an hour and a half. These are the only public videos of the drones over Langley.
Here's another one. From each other, yes.
He shared this video with the FBI for its investigation.
And another.
Yes.
The reports were coming in 20 to 30 sightings, same time every evening, 30 to 45 minutes after sunset.
Retired four-star General Mark Kelly was the highest-ranking officer at Langley to witness the swarm. A veteran fighter pilot, Kelly went up to the roof of a squadron headquarters for an unobstructed view of the airborne invaders.
So what'd you see?
Well, what you saw was different sizes of incursions of aircraft. You saw different altitudes, different airspeeds. Some were rather loud, some weren't near as loud.
What was the smallest one? What was the largest one?
The smallest, you're talking about a commercial size quadcopter. And then the largest ones are probably size what I would call a bass boat or a small car.
The size of a small car.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, General Glenn Van Herk was Joint Commander of NORAD and NORTHCOM, the military commands that protect North American airspace. He has since retired.
I actually provided support in the form of fighters, airborne warning and control platforms, helicopters to try to further categorize what those drones were at the time.
10 months earlier, he ordered an F-22 from Langley to shoot down that Chinese spy balloon over the Atlantic after it had sailed across the U.S. But this time, he found himself ill-equipped to respond. NORAD's radar systems, designed during the Cold War to detect high-altitude air, space, or missile attacks, were unable to detect low-flying drones that could be seen with the naked eye.
Why don't we just shoot them down?
Well, first, you have to have the capability to detect, track, identify, make sure it's not a civilian airplane flying around. If you can do that, Bill, then it becomes a safety issue for the American public. Firing missiles in our homeland is not taken lightly.
We're not able to track them? We're not able to see where they originate?
No, it's a capability gap. Certainly, they can come and go from any direction. The FBI is looking at potential options, but they don't have an answer right now.
And there haven't been answers for similar encroachments for more than 5 years.
There are multiple UAS in vicinity of Paul Hamilton, CPA 100 feet in altitude off the bow.
In 2019, naval warships training off the California coast were shadowed for weeks by dozens of drones.
We have visual of 4 probable unidentified drones with course unknown and speed unknown.
For years, the Pentagon did little to dispel speculation these images, taken with night vision equipment, were UFOs. But ships' logs show they were identified as drones at the time. And the Navy suspected they came from this Hong Kong-flagged freighter sailing nearby, but couldn't prove it. Since then, the defense news site, The War Zone, has documented dozens of drone intrusions at sensitive infrastructure and military installations. In 2019, the Palo Verde nuclear plant in Arizona, the largest power producer in the country. In 2024, an experimental weapons site in Southern California, where defense contractors are building the next generation of stealth bombers. Last December, the Army confirmed 11 drone sightings over the Picatinny Arsenal in northern New Jersey, where advanced weapons are designed and built.
What is that?
Which ignited a public frenzy, with sightings of unidentified flying objects all over the region.
New Jersey remains the epicenter of the drone mystery.
While much of the country was fixated on New Jersey, another swarm of drones was disrupting operations at an airbase in the UK, where U.S. nuclear weapons have been stored.
Clearly, there is a military intelligence aspect of this.
Republican Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi is chairman of the Armed Services Committee that oversees the Pentagon. We talked to him this past December.
Do you believe that these drones are a spying system, a spying platform?
What would a logical person conclude?
That these are
yes.
spying incursions.
And yet, I can tell you, I am privy to classified briefings at the highest level. I think the Pentagon and the National Security Advisors are still mystified.
Still mystified?
Yes.
More alarming, with drones overhead, some of the F-22s stationed at Langley were moved to a nearby airbase for their own protection. There's a new wartime reality. Drones that can spy can also destroy. Deep inside Russia, advanced aircraft have been destroyed by Ukrainian drones. General Van Herk told us drones could do the same thing here.
I have seen video of drones in various sizes flying over the F-22 flight line at Langley.
What's your reaction to that? They could drop ordnance on them, drop bombs on them. They could crash into them to disable them. Was that a concern?
Absolutely, it's a concern. Small UAS or drones can do a myriad of missions.
President Biden was informed of the Langley intrusions, and meetings were held at the White House to figure out how to bring the drones down. But after 17 nights, the drone visitation stopped. A senior official in the Biden White House later downplayed the incident to 60 Minutes, saying it was likely the work of hobbyists.
From what you saw, did you rule out that these might be hobbyists sending these drones up?
No, it would be my assessment they weren't hobbyists because of the magnitude of the events, the sizes of some of the drones, and the duration.
So what's going on?
Well, I wish I had the answer. It certainly could have a foreign nexus, a threat nexus. They could be doing anything from surveilling critical infrastructure, just to the point of embarrassing us from the fact that they can do this on a day-to-day basis, and that we're not able to do anything about it.
In overseas war zones, the U.S. military has broad authority to bring down menacing drones with gunfire, missiles, and electronic jamming. Here at home, any of those actions would pose a threat to civilians on the ground and in the air.
Well, we certainly need new systems to counter this threat.
A year ago, General Gregory Guillot, a combat veteran, took control of NORAD and NORTHCOM. He ordered a 90-day assessment of operations and says the drones, or UAVs, at Langley became the centerpiece.
We're the most powerful military on the face of the earth, and yet drones could fly over a major Air Force base and we couldn't stop them? How is that possible?
Well, I think the threat got ahead of our ability to detect and track the threat. I think all eyes were rightfully overseas, where UAVs were being used in one-way attack to attack U.S. and coalition service members. And the threat in the U.S. probably caught us by surprise a little bit.
As it stands today, could you detect a swarm of drones flying over or flying into the airspace at Langley? Could you detect that today?
At low altitude, probably not with your standard FAA or surveillance radars.
Complicating his efforts? Bureaucracy. When the drones flew outside the perimeter of Langley Air Force Base, other agencies had jurisdiction: the Coast Guard, FAA, FBI, and local police. There was no one agency in charge.
So what did you determine went on at Langley?
Well, that investigation is still ongoing, so I don't think we know entirely what happened.
You know, when we hear things from the White House that it's not deemed a threat, it seems to me that this is alarming. I mean, this is kind of hair on fire time.
It is alarming, and I would say that our hair is on fire here in NORTHCOM in a controlled way, and we're moving out extremely quickly.
This past November, General Guillot was given the authority to cut through the red tape and coordinate counter-drone efforts across multiple government agencies. He says new, more sensitive radar systems are being installed at strategic bases, and NORTHCOM is developing what it calls flyaway kits with the latest anti-drone technology to be delivered to bases besieged by drones.
My goal is inside of a year that we would have the flyaway kit capability to augment the services and the installations if they're necessary.
So within a year, were Langley to happen again, there'd be some ability to respond.
That's my goal.
His predecessor, Glenn Van Herk, says the Pentagon, White House, and Congress have underestimated this massive vulnerability for far too long.
It's been 1 year since Langley had their drone incursion, and we don't have the policies and laws in place to deal with this. That's not a sense of urgency.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because there's a perception that this is Fortress America, 2 oceans on the east and west with friendly nations north and south, and nobody's going to attack our homeland. It's time we move beyond that assumption.
Why it is so hard to stop drone incursions.
There are gaps in capability, there are gaps in policy, and
at 60minutesovertime.com.